What up? Today I want to bring you guys What If Deku married She-Hulk. That seems a bit of a weird relationship pointed, but you guys on my Discord server seem to want it. I don't know why, but you did. But sorry for me actually sounding really groggy and shit while I'm recording. Right now I am sick, so I do apologize if my voice cuts out in between recordings. So make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. We're getting very close to 4,000 subscribers. And make sure to leave a like down below if you guys actually want a second movie of this, or actually want them in parts. Give this video to 600 likes and I'll make them into the actual season 5 and season 6. Thank you all, and let's begin with our movie. So, let's just slightly begin with the She-Hulk's point of view. If you guys are wondering how she's going to end up in the My Hero Academia universe, well, you guys don't have to worry. I will explain that right here and now. Let's just start off with saying that her quirk allows her with super strength, but in turn, her side effect is insanity and rage. With her rage boost, it turns out she is All Might level, and when All Might and her met for the first time, well, let's just say she was around 13 years of age and was able to withstand All Might's 50% to 60% punches. All Might is 40 around this time, so let's just start off there, as she would actually keep on punching at All Might, trying to get more and more anger out. But the moment she stopped, All Might saw a weak spot in her punches. He took that as an opening, charged through her defenses, and punched her straight in the ribs, knocking the wind out, as All Might's last punch was a chop in the neck, knocking her clean out. As 2 hours passed, as All Might standing at the bottom of the bed, waiting for her to wake up from her conscious state, since the fight with All Might, of course. As she woke up in those couple of hours, as she was wondering why was she in a hospital bed. Next, or below her, was the #1 hero of the world, All Might. Or, as we know him as Toshinori Yagi. No way, it's All Might, she said, with a smileless grin on her face. Excuse me, but why am I here? She said in a very confused tone, with a hint of anger behind it. Remember, she's the Hulk. As All Might tried to explain to her what happened, but with her anger taking over, she would just snapped at him, telling her why is she here, getting a weird sharp pain in her head, thanks to the blow that she sustained from All Might's 50% knockout punches. Well, young lady, it seems that you lost control of your quirk and I had to knock you out, All Might said, with a strained voice. Excuse me, All Might, but how long did I last before you beat me? She said in a very questionable tone. Well, it was around 5-6 minutes, but you were taking my 40% punches, so you're pretty durable for a 13-year-old, All Might said questionably. So, what is your true power then? All Might said questionably. Well, my true power is... But the moment she tried to say that sentence, she was instantly cut off by an opening of a door with a big green man with whitish blackish hair and a bulky figure. Jennifer Waters, the green man said, walking straight in, almost breaking the door in the process of his movement. What is it, Bruce? She said. Oh, no cousin? No big cuz? He said, hurt by his feelings, as he walked over and smacked her across the head gently. You know how worried I get the moment you go in these little strikes or tangents, he said, as Jennifer was just about to say something but was interrupted by All Might. So, I would like to train your niece, was it? Nah, cousin, they both said in unison. So, I'd like to help her train her power a little bit more. I want her to help her to become a lot stronger than what she is and let her become a hero. as Jennifer just started to laugh maniacally at that point. Me, a hero? Don't make me laugh, she said, finishing that sentence by moving by her facial expression not becoming a laugh anymore, being a serious face. So, All Might was it? What makes you think I want to become a hero? She said. Well, your strength alone is enough for you to get into. I don't want to go to that hero school in Japan, she said, finishing her sentence. Well, what about you this then? If I take you to that school and help you meet my person I am actually training at this very moment and help you get a rough understanding of it, and if I somehow change your mind, or if you start to like it, you have full representations of actually taking the exam, All Might said. And all your living expenses will be paid by me, of course, so you don't have to worry, he said. As she just nodded. Fine then. If I don't like this, I'm coming straight back here on a first-class private jet flight, okay? She said, pointing at him. Fine, All Might said, sighing in relief. So I'll meet you in 3 days, All Might said, as All Might disappeared out of that room. Before we actually do continue, I would like to say that All Might actually does have his weak spot. It's just actually training Midoriya a little bit earlier, but he just ditched Midoriya basically to go back to America for hero business. As All Might told Jeffina or Jeffa to actually pack all of her stuff. I butchered her name, I do apologize. As an hour went by as they all arrived at the airport just in time to actually take their flight. As All Might actually bought a private jet previously to their actual conversation, just so he doesn't, attract unwanted attention. As All Might instantly went onto the plane, as the moment he went on, he debuffed. Without her knowing, she just sat down in her seat and waited for All Might to get onto the plane. But the moment someone hopped on, it was a skinny, frail man with bones for skin, as his face looked like a skeleton. Ha! Minecraft noises. As All Might, or Toshinori in this case, sat down, as Jennifer asked who this man was. Oh, I'll be the person who'll be taking you this evening, miss, he said. Where's All Might? Oh, he just said stuff a little bit earlier than what we should have planned, because he had to go help out his people in Japan, that's all, he said. As they all set off for the ride home, All Might managed to keeping his secret safe for around, let's just say, the 9-hour flight back to Japan. Because clean flights, no stops, small plane, less people. As the moment that plane departed, hours later, or 9 hours later as I previously said, as they all arrived into Japan, as everyone was sat down, peace and quiet, until she woke up feeling groggy, tired and jet-lagged. Come on, why do I have to do this? She said, rubbing her eyes, feeling red marks around her eye pupils. As Toshinori, or just call him All Might to make it easier for me, as All Might helped her out of the plane because of her jet lag, as All Might dropped her off and waited for All Might to arrive, as the only thing that was heard was a boom and a weird shockwave surrounding area, but not enough to move anything. As the moment All Might landed, everyone was straight up just staring at him in amazement, as everyone else there was just trying to get autographs, but All Might just told them all to move out of the way, please. As the moment he said that, his fans had a little scowl on their faces, as All Might apologized as much as he could, as that he would actually have a meet and greet in the near couple of months so everyone could actually meet him here, as All Might said that with a smile, as on instinct they all just forgived him, as All Might grabbed the arm of the girl, helping her on his back. So, where was the car, All Might? She said angrily. Well, it's over here, as All Might instantly jumped off with all of her suitcases and belongings. All jumped all the way to the hotel that she would be staying in. As All Might dropped her off there, All Might realized how light she was in her normal form. During you were fighting me, young miss, do you remember it? Barely, but I remember some of it. Yeah, it seems that your quirk has a little factor to it. The more stronger you get, the buffer you get, All Might said confused. How does that work exactly? Well, the gamma rays in my blood allow me to actually become stronger, but it's mystery to me. My cousin would tell me how my quirk works, she said. Well, that's not nice. Well, maybe I could help you trade though. More power I input, the bigger I become, All Might said. Well, my quirk is easier to learn, but yours seems a little bit more outputted. I'll think about that, All Might said with a smile, getting the attention of her in the process of that. Really? She said with a giant smile. You remind me of my protege, All Might said internally with his monologue, as All Might was just dropping her off at her hotel. Okay, in 4 or 5 hours I'll be coming to pick you up, so get some sleep in, okay? All Might said. As 4 hours went by, as she actually got introduced to the Palins, everything like that, she had 3 hours of sleep, which she felt better, honestly, as she walked all the way downstairs to meet All Might once again, but this time Toshinori was there. So, miss, did you like your stay there? He said with a smile that looked bony and disgusting, as Toshinori pulled his car over and let her in, his sports car. Let's just call it a Aventador for now. As she was paying TUA, as the moment she actually got there, she was greeted with a rodent slash rat slash whatever that shit is. Don't ask me, because I do not know myself what Nezu is. Probably a bear. As All Might introduced her to the actual rodent principal of UA's campus buildings and school, and all land and everything so on. Why the hell does he look like a rodent? She said out loud, getting Nezu's tick mark to show with the veins popping out. Well, miss, let's just show you to your room, or show you around UA, and see if you actually like it, because the potential that you show, well, All Might told us about it and showed us video proof of it. So, let's just see how you go, as Nezu opened the door and let her all in. As the moment she walked in, she was astounded how posh UA looks, but this didn't let her fool her. She knew why she was here, and she knew her objective, to try and actually not get accepted into this shite of a school. She said, this actual school is full of probably full of posh brats, she said internally. As the moment she turned the corner, she saw a green-headed boy with a gym uniform on, walking out of the campus building. Excuse me, but why is one student here that looks out of place? She said. Well, that's my protege, Izuku Midoriya, and I'm currently training him for the UA exam in a month, All Might said. Wait, why are you not training him now? Well, one of the actual teachers took over that for me. I think his name is Shoto Aizawa? All Might said, trying to remember the hero's name that he placed in charge of his protege. Well, without any more dilly-dallying, All Might told her to come into this classroom where she would actually be going if she passed. Well, this is a UA, Class 1A, Class 2A, Class 3A, Class 1B, and so on. I'm not going through the rest, fuck you. As All Might introduced her to the rest of the classes. As the moment they hopped into Class 3B, All Might saw that Tamaki, Majiki, Nejire, and the Big Three was in there. As the moment All Might walked in and introduced himself and everything, Nejire instantly walked up to the green-skinned girl, asking her what her quirk is. Being a bubbly personality that she actually is, she was being more and more close and closer, as this annoyed Jennifer to a certain point, but All Might instantly separated the two, telling Nejire slightly in her ear, her quirk leads to her anger, so don't try and annoy her, All Might said, slightly with a hint of trying to stop Nejire from being bubbly for a second. This is as All Might was interrupted by, well, the She-Hulk of America, as she explained to herself and what her quirk is. Well, my cousin called it Hulk, and wait, you know the Hulk? They all said in between. Yeah, Bruce Banner, he's the most smartest, second strongest or third strongest hero in America. Next to Captain Celebrity and what's her name now? Nijiri was thinking. As she said. I can't think of it. Damn it, she said. I'll probably bring it to you later. As Nijiri instantly went over to her and patted her head, as this instantly annoyed her. As All Might separated the two once more, trying to not get a giant shockwave of punches like he did before, getting her shook down his spine from the memory of a couple of days ago. So, Jeffrey, how does your quirk work? She said. I don't know fully, my cousin never taught me how to use it, I've just explained before, she said. As Nijiri said, oh, I want to know how your quirk work, she said, pouting like she would in season 5 of the anime. As She-Hulk or Jeffrey would have actually walked around the rest of UA with All Might, showing the different abilities and the actual fake city that's going to happen in 1 month if this happened. Hey, All Might, she said. Well, Toshinori. Yeah, Toshinori, of course. As she introduced an offer. If you let me go rogue in this city, I'll debate about actually coming to UA, she said. Okay then, I'll try and talk this into Nezu and see if we can actually get this arranged, he said. Yay, I get to destroy stuff, she said, bouncing up and down in excitement. As 2 days would have passed, as All Might would have took over the training back of Izuku. Since Izuku's actually trained with Aizawa, we're going to change the point of view here just to let the storyline build back up so you guys can get the rough understanding of what's actually happening once again. As Izuku would walk through the buildings, seeing that All Might was there. All Might, what's up? Izuku said. Well, I got another protege for you to meet, All Might said. She's just about to destroy the city, so I'm just wondering if you can take some notes on her for me, since you're really good at taking notes on heroes and everything and people's quirks, All Might said with a smile. So what is her quirk? All Might said. Izuku said. Well, our quirk is called Hulk. Wait, you mean like Bruce Banner Hulk? Like the cousin of the... As Izuku just started geeking out. Where is she so I can get her autograph? All Might said. Wow, you really are a hero nerd, All Might said with a smile on his face. Is there something wrong with being a hero nerd, All Might? Izuku said with a cute smile. As All Might wondered, hey, did Eraserhead teach you how to use his scarf? Yeah, it's actually pretty easy when I got used to it, Izuku said. It took me around 2 days to try and get the rough understanding of it. And the next 2 days after that, I managed to get a hang of it to the point I can move it around my entire body without strangling myself this time, Izuku said. As Izuku introduced the actual waiting room, as All Might put on the speaker. Okay, we're ready? Go ahead, All Might said. As the moment that alarm went off, she instantly started to gain in mass and strength, as her skin started to get greener and darker, until green veins popped out of her glowing with gamma radiation. As the moment that let go, she blitzed out without a single thought of movement of her body, as the amount of destruction that was caused could equal that 30% manga Deku, if that. As All Might got some notes, including Izuku, who wrote down faster than the Flash did do in the CW in season 3 or 4, depending on which you guys are on when he writes a ton of stuff on a chalkboard or a whiteboard or something like that. As All Might was surprised, even a little bit of dust or the All Might didn't know what it was. As Izuku wrote down at supersonic speeds, notes upon notes on how the quirk works or how it could be improved. As Izuku finished his quirk journal in under 10 minutes, as All Might told her to calm down, as when she did so managed to keep the same amount of control that she would do in the original, well, cartoon or anime, depending on which you guys actually like it. as All Might managed to get her to come out of her senses by telling her that she would bring her down if necessary to actually keep her calm. As she managed to calm down, getting calm and calmer each time she went down in percentages, her bulging muscles and her green veins shrunk along with her body mass. As Izuku handed her a notebook, writing down all of his quirk ideas, high improvements, everything. As she looked over at Izuku with a gleam eyes. "Wait, you seriously wrote down everything about my quirk?" she said in confusion. "Well, everything I could," Izuku said. "Your quirk is very complicated and easily to confuse with different things. I wrote up on how Bruce Banner or your cousin's quirk actually worked beforehand, but turns out your quirk links to your anger, as you would know before. The angrier you get, the more stronger you become, so it's basically like how All Might's quirk would work, but instead of percentages, it's anger. For example, if you decided just to get randomly angry out of nowhere, you could basically become stronger than All Might if you're not careful enough. As if you get to that type of power, you probably would have lost control about that point," Izuku said, starting to go on and on and on and how her quirk would work. As, I know that's not how the power technically works, but I know I'm going to get slandered in the comment section for somehow getting this wrong. But let's just say Izuku explained her the correct way of how to actually train her power, which you guys can explain in the comment section if you guys are Hulk fans, of how the power to explain how to control it. As that week went by really fast, as Izuku and, well, the She-Hulk actually became decently good friends to the point they spent almost all their time together training, as Izuku kept on bonding her up every single time she tried to break out, but that went to no prevail, as Aizaru kept on actually supervising their training, as Izuku would have more martial arts than Kanon, so he's more nimble and agile. As Izuku would actually go down and try and pin her this time to the wall, but she actually gets the upper hand and actually pins him instead, almost breaking his neck. But thanks to Aizawa, enough time, her quirk was cancelled out, as she shrunk back to her normal size. "Careful, you almost killed him," he said in his very depressed tone like usual. "Sorry, sir," she said. As they finished that day, as Izuku was invited to, well, her place for the night. Yeah, I know how that sounds, shut up. As Izuku was about to just go and lay down, as she instantly pinned him to the bed, trying to ask him, "Why has All Might took a big interest in you?" she said. "Well, I was attacked by a sludge villain, and that's not a good excuse. Tell me the reason why. Why All Might keeps on randomly disappearing throughout the day, and seemed that you only need to know about it," she said. "That's not my room to say. If you want to know about it, just ask him yourself," she said. "All Might could be very truthful at times, so if he trusted you enough, he'll tell you," Izuku said. As she would just let go and apologize to Izuku for the misconvenience, as they would have talked about quirks and everything for the next couple of hours, as Izuku had to go home, but it was too late, so Izuku just called his mom, telling her that he would be spending the time at a friend's house, as Inka would be freaking out over the phone, and telling her that her son she has another friend, instead of hanging around with Bakugo 24/7. As Inko in this timeline would know how much of a bad influence Bakugo is on people, so this would affect the timeline just slightly. As Izuku pulled out a spare futon that was left in the closet, as Izuku laid down on the floor and nodded off, as she would have just woke up in the middle of the night and went to the bathroom and flashed water on her face. "If I want to become stronger, I need to train more," she said, as she woke up and went down to the actual hotel's gym that was required there. As the moment she went there around 3 o'clock, as the moment 2 hours later, Izuku came in, wearing his gym attire. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Izuku said. "You think it's a bit too early to start training?" Izuku said. I would say the same thing to you, Izuku, she said. As Izuku blushed a bit. You said my first name? Izuku said in a blushing mess. Oh, sorry, she said. I meant Midoriya. I forgot in Japan you have a first name basis thing here, using your last name as a form of respect. Sorry, she said. It's okay, you can call me Izuku if you want to, she said. He said sorry with a blush on his face. As they both trained with each other for the next couple of hours. As Izuku and, She-Hulk, as both trained each other, when she felt like the weight was too much, she used her quirk to try and show off. As Izuku's limit at this time was 150 kilograms to try and lift off to the ground. As she would have lifted double, even triple the amount. As Izuku would notice that she's using her quirk to try and show off, Izuku would pick up on it and actually try and cut her out on it, but she would deny it each time that would be coming up. So, Izuku, right? What are you gonna do for the exam? What's your quirk again, Izuku? I never actually told you. My quirk is enhancement, but for some reason my quirk isn't working at the moment, so, sorry, Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. Oh, so your quirk's dormant, okay. Wait, you understand? Izuku said. Yeah, I completely understand. Most quirks are dormant in America until they turn 12 probably 11. Because the quirk factor in America is a little bit weaker. So, but the quirks that come out of it are decently strong, she said. Take me and my cousin for example, both our quirks are Hulk related. So, you can take like the comics from Hulk, like that's my person, she said. Well, my cousin was actually named after Bruce Banner, like from the comics from Marvel, she said. As Izuku would just fanboy a little bit, knowing that the favorite hero that he admires with strength would actually be the person from the MCU that he would remember. As Izuku would actually sit there and train a little bit more until they had to get up around 7ish to try and actually go to Dagobah Beach, as All Might would actually give Izuku his quirk 2 days earlier than canon. As, let's just skip 2 days ahead, as Izuku would actually be more and more excited in this timeline instead of actually being more depressed because he actually made a friend and trained a little bit more, so he would feel confident. Izuku's score from canon would stay the same thanks to certain operations, as Izuku's physical score, well, we'll get into that now, as Izuku and She-Hulk would actually stand there in the same areas, telling each other good luck before they set off past the present mics with the bell, as they all smashed through robots after robots after robots until Izuku reached the 0-pointer. Izuku managed to get over 20 villain points from smashing robots and another 20 hero points from actually able to actually save people with his scarf. Well, I forgot to mention he actually managed to get that from Aizawa. So, let's begin everywhere else. As Izuku would train, I'm kidding, as Izuku would actually see the 0-pointer and see a girl trapped under the rubble, this being Ochaku Uraka like canon, as the same thing would happen, but instead of the actual monster behemoth getting the same damage as the cannon, it would get a little bit more damage because of one thrall's stockpiling for 2 days. It would get a little bit more used to Izuku's body mass, but still doing the same damage to him, as Izuku would fly down, but being caught by the same people that cannon Uraka. But the moment Izuku got caught by her in her arms, Izuku could feel something was up until he looked over at She-Hulk. Her face was a little bit red with anger and jealousy that she wanted to do that and save him. Bridal Styles was something for her to brag about in the next couple of days, as she would have just gone to help Izuku up to Recovery Girl's office, as Izuku would actually have gone there and actually have been healed like canon as normal basically. And Recovery Girl would have get the gummies out, get a little bit more strength and more sugar in Izuku's system to help him out before he crashes at home. As Izuku arrived back home and got his acceptance letters, as Izuku in this timeline would have got at least second actually. Thanks to him actually getting trained with Aizawa, he would have got 50 points in the actual mains exams, as the 0 point would still give him his original 70 points. Well, not 70, I think it was like 60 odd, but 60 hero points. So that would have led to the second place spot, with the She-Hulk actually getting a little bit more than Izuku, thanks to her enhanced strength and 30% control of her original power, which is 20% of All Might's. Well, weakened state, of course. We're not making it prime. If we made it prime, she would easily take out the Nomu without much effort, as she would have arrived back at her home. Acceptance letter, first place in exam, and she would have been happy with that, and would have gone to sleep for the next day, as the next day would have arrived, as she would have gotten ready in her UA outfit, as Izuku was waiting down at the bottom floor, waiting for her to arrive. As she arrived, as Izuku noticed her uniform didn't fit her really well, but it still fit her nonetheless, as she would have replied saying, "I need to go ask Principal Nezu to try and get my actual school uniform resized because it's really tight on the shoulders," she said, rubbing them slightly. "I'm tempted just to rip them off, but I know if I do that, some rich brat's probably going to come at me saying, 'Wear the uniform correctly,'" she said, with a little bit of annoyance. "If we do run into those type of people, I'll probably try and deal with them for you, okay?" he said with a 20-gigawatt smile that he gives to everyone else he meets. That's nice to him. As they all arrived at the original places, and everything would have gone like canon. Everyone would be amazed at her strength when she threw the ball, however, as the moment the ball was thrown, it went to 1,300 meters into the air, shocking most students there. As Izuku would use the same finger flick from canon, getting 700.60 at that, as Bakugo would be pissed because he's third again. "Not again, how did that bastard get a quirk?" he said, brushing at Izuku with his quirk activated, ready to kill. "You're gonna explain to me right now, Deku, how you got a quirk," Bakugo said, as Bakugo would have rushed at Izuku with the force he had in the cannon, but before Aizawa could do anything, She-Hulk would have punched Bakugo in the face with 5%, leaving a little indent in his cheek, knocking him and making him fly back a couple of meters into the front of the Aizawa. "Our God and Savior Aizawa, you know, Manga Aizawa is God. He will ever be God." Can we get Aizawa God in the comment section if you guys are still listening? As everyone's score would have gone like canon, but Izuku's on the other hand would have done a little bit better, but still getting the round 22 with that in the actual scorings instead of getting dead last. As Aizawa would have looked at Mineta and thought, "I'll give him a couple of chances before I expel him." As Aizawa would have told everyone it was a fluke, as everyone would have gone back home. As everyone would have meet up like canon the next day, as All Might explained to them they'll be having hero versus villains. As Bakugo would have jumped up from his seat and pumped his fist in the air, as excitement riled the room. As All Might explained to them, "Young Bakugo, that means no killing people." As All Might said that, everyone else be quiet. As All Might explained to them what they were doing, as All Might pulled out a bunch of briefcases from the walls, extracted them all, and actually gave them all to his students that were in front of him. Everyone would have gone ready, but Izuku's outfit would be a teensy bit different. With his cloth being there, he would have took some inspiration from Aizawa as well from canon, and actually wear him fully black, like camouflage. Almost like camouflage. As She-Hulk's actual costume would be a lot more bulkier, and a little bit of armor on the sides of the actual chest plates, like knee guards, chest guards, and so on, to try and protect her body just in case it gets cancelled out. This getting the idea from when Aizawa got his her quirk cancelled out. As Izuku, She-Hulk, everyone else would have gone outside, and had their teams arranged like canon. But instead of Ida, let's just say She-Hulk is there instead as the villain, as Izuku would be a little bit scared, knowing how strong she really is, not knowing the future power that she would actually endure, as the fighting and the stuff like that would commence. Izuku walked into the building with Uraraka, as Izuku's plan was commenced, as Izuku told Uraraka to go right while he goes left, Knowing her, she would probably actually take the way I'm taking because she has this chance of sensing me. I'll create some distraction around just to try and get her attention. But after that, Bakugo's gonna be the main problem for you, he said, as Izuku walked through, finding her almost instantly. Rushing at her, getting her blind spot, Izuku noticed that while he was training with her, he noticed that she had 2 or 3 blind spots that he could exploit her at time. At that moment he decked her, but she managed to grab her legs out and spread them into little bits to keep her balance. You think I'm gonna fall for that a second time? Oh no, this is just gonna be the basic distraction, Izuku said, as he swept her legs from underneath, buckling them underneath her. As she fell to the ground as Izuku wrapped her up in his capture tape, being able to win over the female Hulk. Wait, what the hell? She said. How the hell did you just win? I'm more agile than you, remember? You're more of a brawler type. You need to be more agile if you want to beat me, Izuku said. As Izuku instantly went up to help Araka, but the moment he went up he saw Bakugo, his tormentor for almost 10 years of his life. There you are, you damn nerd. You're gonna explain to me right now how you got that quirk, Bakugo shouted in retort. How about no, Izuku said, as Bakugo charged at Izuku with full force and killing intent. You gonna tell me right now, you damn nerd? Bakugo said with more malice in his voice than cannon, as he went to Izuku's face and pulled the gauntlet, making his nitroglycerin bomb go off more and more damage like cannon, but Izuku managed to duck just in time and able to dodge the mighty boom of the explosion. Don't dodge me, Bakugo said as the fight was called. Hero team wins. Bakugo Katsuki, you'll come to me at this very moment so we can have a chat about that anger of yours, All Might said, being more caring than canon. Honestly, why the hell would you let a 15-year-old get away with literally killing one of your students? Almost killing, of course, as Izuku would actually have gone there and gone to Recovery Girl to heal his almost burnt face. As Izuku would sit in the nurse's office for 5 minutes until Recovery Girl came in to heal him. So, what is All Might did to you now? Oh, this wasn't All Might, was it? It was the spiky guy or the half blonde one? Recovery Girl said it was the sparky guy. As we cut to Bakugo's and All Might's chat. Young Bakugo, why would you have this type of intent towards Midoriya? He said. Well, he shouldn't have hid his quirk from me then, should he? Or he would have got it from somewhere else, he said. I remember that bastard being fucking quirkless, so why the hell does he have a quirk now? Bakugo said with malice. If you don't stop this little anger spit of yours, I will have to expel you. I think Mr. Aizawa has already actually given you your first warning. Your next one after me will be your expulsion. We'll make sure that you never actually get into a hero school again with that type of attitude, All Might said. Fine by me, Bakugo said, calming down. As the moment he left UA building, he found and followed Izuku back to, well, the She-Hulk's hotel. Why the hell are they going next to each other? Are they fucking or something? Bakugo said internally, as Bakugo tried to find his way in, but no prevail. As Izuku and her managed to actually go out for a midnight stroll before they went to bed, as they would have found themselves at a nearby church, as they would have just decided to pray for just a little bit of fun, and their victory in their actual 1v1 matches. Izuku won, of course, but she's still praying for Izuku next time to win, against him, of course, as she would have blushed the moment she saw Izuku praying, and would have tried to ask him something before the church bells rung to symbol it was midnight. Well, we should be getting back now, Izuku said, as they would have arrived back home and slept for the rest of the night. As the next day would have arrived, Izuku and everyone would have actually woke up and gone to school, as Aizawa explained to them that they would be having the USJ, as Aizawa would have actually, Miss Walkers, before we begin to go to the USJ, I need you to come up here right now and draw lots for us, Aizawa said. Well, since the little incident yesterday with Bakugo, we're not going to make this into a little voting system just in case he gets picked. As Bakugo wrote everyone's name except for Bakugo's name in a little voting type of thing. So, in this little box right here is little people's names. And if people's names get drawn from this, that will be your people who is actually doing it. To make this fair, I won't do it. Instead of me, it should be Jennifer who's actually doing it. To make it a little bit more fair, Aizawa said. Right, draw your letters, I'm going to sleep for 5, Aizawa said, pulling out his sleeping bag out of nowhere, like it's little Mary Poppins. As Aizawa went to sleep and everyone else drew down lots. Let's just say for Canon's sake, Momo and Izuku was also picked like Canon, as everyone would have actually gone to the bus for the USJ. As everyone would have actually got on and gone to the USJ. The incidents like Canon would happen, but instead of Hagakure being there, if you guys get it, you get it. As All Might and everyone else would have had their little encounters, but with the Nomu, this is where things would change. But instead of All Might being there, Jennifer would have actually tried to hold it off and pull up more anger, with 30% able to control, but that wasn't enough. As for a split second she lost control, as that control would have been fatal to the control of her power, as she would have actually almost one-shotted the Nomu with one punch, being able to go all the way to 50% of All Might's power at the moment. As this would have knocked the Nomu off balance, as her control would have weakened a little bit more, as her mind was starting to go blank of rage and furious power, as she would have actually just almost killed the Nomu in the process, ripping its brain almost clean out of its skull, until All Might interrupted, seeing that Jennifer was almost out of control, as All Might karate chopped the back of her neck, knocking her out, and carried her all the way back upstairs with Aizawa, Izuku, and so on his back. As All Might would have told all the students to get to safety while he deals with the rest of the villains. Oh no, get him to Recovery Girl, try and get an ambulance right here and now, All Might said to the students in furious rage. You villains need to go to your place, All Might said, as All Might was not smiling anymore. With the Nomu defeated, everything from Canon would go really more or less easy. But the only thing different here would be that Shigaraki and Kurogiri would try and make it out of there. But to no prevail, they would fail to try and escape. For the exact reason All Might was pissed. Remember, rage boost from Canon. So, doesn't really help that much that the portal doesn't work, as Kurogiri and Shigaraki will be detained and sent off to Tartarus. Many weeks later, Izuku and She-Hulk, more or less, would actually get to know each other a lot more frequently, to the point that Izuku would actually go up to her one day and actually would have told her to come downstairs just for a little second, come to the foyer, as Izuku left a little note in her glass cup that would be a little plastic little thing. As it read, "Would you go out with me?" Izuku said. As She-Hulk just stared at it in shock and disbelief. She did like him, but in what way, she thought internally, as she looked over back at Izuku and then back at the piece of plastic with a written letter saying, "I love you." Back at Izuku again, then to the piece of plastic again and again and again, until her head just imploded internally. Yes, Izuku, I love you," she said hesitantly, accepting his feelings, as Izuku would have actually just hugged her as they would have finished off their dinner and gone back to their room for the night. Izuku would worry and wondering where her baby boy was, but Izuku the next morning would have texted his mom and actually would have explained to her that he's actually with one of his friends and he will be home shortly, Izuku said, as Izuku hung up and went home, not before giving his new required girlfriend a kiss on the forehead, as Izuku walked off back home. As the next day would have arrived at Izuku actually would have walked away, As Aizawa would have explained to them that they would have had been the UA Sports Festival and everything would like that would have gone like canon with the example of explaining, but Aizawa pulled She-Hulk to the side and would have actually explained to her not to use over 20% if necessary. We saw what you did in the USJ and we don't want these type of things to happen to our students. We know how strong you are and everything like that. We're not underestimating you, we're overestimating your power. We don't want our students to get fully hurt, okay? Aizawa said with a calming tone. Fine then, she said, as Aizawa would have just ended the conversation there and then and would have took them all to the UA Sports Festival. The moment everyone walked down into the Sports Festival arena, most people were staring at, well, the big hulking woman in the room. Most people thought that she was a villain for what happened in the USJ, because word spread quick between students because one of them couldn't keep their mouth shut and it spread like wildfire afterwards. As this being called a villain enraged her a little bit, making a green vein pop out. As Izuku just held her hand, helping her calm down just a little bit from the insults that were being thrown. As Izuku just calmed her down through this rage and helped her out in between her breathing. As she calmed down gradually, as the start of the sports festival would begin with the class representative, well, let's just say She-Hulk's in this timeline because she's a lot more outgoing than what Bakugo is. I would say that she's got less rage, but in that turn I do not know. This is why I told you guys to correct me just in case I ever do a part 2 of this. Just remember, if you guys get 600 likes, a part 2 will happen. As Izuku and everyone else would have gone out to the arena and started at the ring, President Mike counted down with his booming voice going through the echoing words of world. Well, not the echo world, but you guys know what I mean. I'm choosing different words at the moment because I'm really tired. As Izuku and everyone else would have gone and started running. As Izuku would try and charge at one for all, but realizing with no control, he can't do barely anything. So, Izuku's gonna have to stick towards using his scarf that Aizawa's gift that would help him out tons. As Izuku would have actually managed to get through most of the construction that She-Hulk was creating. As he would have jumped and swung like Spider-Man throughout the rest of the buildings. As Izuku would land next to what he would think is the bombing or mine area, which he wasn't wrong. As the moment he was about to enter the bomb zone, Todoroki came passing by him. "Move, Midoriya," he said. "Move, you Deku," Bakugo shouted. As Izuku would have done the same plan like Canon, but the moment he got to the end, a booming voice said second place. Without Izuku realizing it, She-Hulk got there first, with her booming strength and speed increasing by the second thanks to her rage power boost. As she would have actually explained to Izuku, as she would have got there really fast, but Izuku would have got the rough understanding of that, I would say so at least. As the next fighting began, Izuku, She-Hulk, Mei, and Uraka would be on the same team. That would be even it out, we're just leaving out Tokoyami. That means we have two people who can create big shockwaves, Mei with the gravitational boots and brain, Uraka with floating. As this actual team would make it a little bit different, but with Izuku being on top, well, I won't say Izuku, I would say She-Hulk being on top, with using 10% of her power to keep most of them off by just clapping her hands violently into each other, creating massive amounts of shockwaves, and Mei's actual boots. I would say her headband would be stolen by, I would say, Bakugo or Todoroki, depending, because Todoroki can just freeze them in place. And while Bakugo can just actually jump up and take it. But I would say that would actually happen for the exact reason we don't want to make our characters OP as bad. As Izuku and all them would have got second place, with Bakugo's team getting first, like Canon I would say. And then everyone else's teams would have gone the same times like Canon, but instead of being moved up, they would have been moved down one, thanks to Izuku's team being there. As Izuku's team would have gone on to the next rounds, which is 1v1s. As Akagure and I would say Tokoyami would be replaced there, so it'll be Tokoyami versus well, not Tokoyami, She-Hulk versus Momo. As She-Hulk just picked Momo up and threw her out of the ring like a rag doll, or just a doll being tossed around. As Izuku's fight with Shinso, canon. Todoroki, well, Izuku would move around more, but he would still break his bones throughout the pressure of one throw spreading out for his entire body. So Izuku would lose like canon. With this enraging her, seeing her person she liked being loosed by some form of arrogant asshole, she would actually go out next round and actually would have pulverized Kirishima just accidentally, punching him too hard, sending him flying out the ring with a bleeding head and broken arm. As Kirishima would have been unconscious and gone to the infirmary room instantly, as the next fight would have gone on with Bakugo versus She-Hulk. Actually, would it be that? No, we took Todoroki versus Bakugo or something like that. This will be on the same. No, it wasn't. It was on the same bracket. I do apologize. It'll be Ida versus Todoroki. Todoroki beating Ida because he can just freeze in place. As the next fight would have commenced in the same bracket with She-Hulk versus Bakugo. This is not even a challenge. As Bakugo would have tried to actually maneuver around her, trying to hit or even take a strike in at her, hitting her vital areas, but nothing. It's just making her growing size a lot more. What the hell? As Bakugo didn't finish that sentence as his arm was grabbed. Do you ever seen that scene with Loki and Hulk? Yeah, I want to just do that for a laugh. As the final fight would happen, that Todoroki versus She-Hulk, seeing what he did to her Izuku, to say that least, she have a sudden yandere rage to her. As this rage built up throughout the couple of hours that she was there waiting for the final fight. As this fight commenced for the 3-2-1, she wasted no time and bomb rushed at him. As the moment they made contact, Todoroki felt nothing other than blood trickling down his face and a sudden urge of pain to his stomach. As he looked down to see a little indent with some ripped skin, and he felt himself passed out almost instantly. As her rage almost built up inside of her until her name was shouted out. "Jeffrey, stop!" Izuku said, shouting out loud. As this catch the actual some of the audience, but not all of them. As she stopped instantly, throwing him out of the ring, making Todoroki lose in one-shot KO. As the next day, or not the next day, the actual giving out your medals and shit, Izuku would actually get second, probably fourth place, yeah. As Ida would get third, like the canon. Well, not Ida, sorry, Bakugo would get third. We're sharing it with Ida. As the next place would be Todoroki and She-Hulk after that. As for the actual internships and everything, and their little break in between, Izuku would go with Gran Torino like canon. But with She-Hulk, I see her going with Mirako because their personalities are sort of similar, but not at the same time. With Mirako, she's more battle crazed, but with She-Hulk, she is when she's angry, but when she's not, she's pretty calm. As their literal entanglement would have gone a little bit less canon, but Izuku would get the same experience, but actually get 8% instead of 5% of One For All. Izuku's fight with Stain would go a little bit different with strength-wise, but still go the same nonetheless. With She-Hulk's training, she would learn how to control her anger a little bit more, and gain a little bit more percentages, able to withstand 40% of her power now instead of going to the original 35. As she's able to level at least 15% of the city if she wanted to, with a couple of punches of course, we're not making that OP. As Izuku and her would meet back up. Seeing that Izuku was injured, she was wondering how he actually got more scars on him. As Izuku would have explained to her that she had a contaminant with Stain. Trusting her, Izuku actually gave her the real news instead of giving the fake news to her like what Endeavor told the media. As Izuku would have actually gone through everything, it just would have made her a little bit angry, knowing that the person she loved dearly was hurt like that. As Izuku just hugged her and got her to calm down. As on instinct, she just randomly kissed Izuku. and hugged him tightly, telling him not to let go, as Izuku would have just said okay and hugged her again tighter. The next day, Izuku and her both trained their hearts out until the actual, testing with the heroes would have gone. So, if you guys actually pass this little mini mock exam and physical exam, you all get to go, let's just say, to a little trip to a camp of sorts for a retreat for more training. As I was said at the end of the sentence, not getting all the trusted attention except from Izuku. In this timeline, Bakugo still doesn't expect it, but he still thinks something's wrong. That will play a key actual aspect later in the story. As Izuku's tests and everything, same like canon. She-Hulk, same like canon. Not canon, she would have got 67%, passing just barely. As everyone else during the physical tests. To test She-Hulk out, instead of Bakugo and Izuku, they would have actually put She-Hulk and Izuku together with the two brawler types, so see if they could actually withstand All Might. As the moment the bell rang to symbolize it started, She-Hulk and Izuku both decided to make a plan instantly, as they both decided just to run halfway, but if they have to actually fight him, we're gonna have to get angry as possible, Izuku said. We don't know how much power All Might is using at the moment, so we're gonna have to place our bets here. How much power can you use again? 45, probably 35. Good. Let's try it's 30, but if it gets too bad, let's try and push to 35, okay? Izuku said, calming her nerves. As Izuku and She-Hulk both out there, instantly trying to get moving. But the moment they got to the inner gates, they saw All Might standing there, rushing at them instantly. Izuku dodged and tried to punch All Might in his weakened area, but using this as a distraction, Izuku kicked All Might straight in his head, dazing him slightly, but not enough to daze him completely. With this distraction, She-Hulk punched him straight in the stomach, knocking him far back. As Izuku pushed her out of the side from All Might rushing back, as All Might hit Izuku with a 20% smash to his stomach, making Izuku cough up spit, sending him flying into a wall, causing Izuku's head to slightly bleed out. "You dare!" she shouted, making her power stretch to 40. As she shouted and charged straight at All Might, the green veins were just barely visible, able to keep her insanity at bay. As the charging commenced once more, the clashing between two titans commenced. The clash, the other thing you saw, was giant amounts of wind pressure surrounding one area at one time, as everything else in the area would be collapsing slightly. But the moment Izuku regained consciousness, he rushed straight out of there, being able to get to the end of the corridor, making the hero team win. But the moment that they said it was won, she looked over at Izuku, seeing he was okay, so she didn't have to worry as much as she wanted to. As she instantly rushed over with this distraction and was shouting, her passing as well. As the next day, everyone would have gotten all their results, and same like canon. Bakugo would have gone with, let's just say, Kirishima in this timeline, and everyone else would have gone with one different team. So Kirishima would have just passed the exam. But just barely though, Bakugo underestimated his opponent. Didn't defeat him, just ran. He regretted it though. But the moment that fight decided to end, he was furious that he didn't get to face All Might like Izuku did, which made him more pissed than canon. As everyone else went into their common rooms, or the actual, let's just say, main area, because the fight hasn't happened yet between the villains. As everything was packed and everything and waiting for Aizawa to come. As the moment he arrived, everyone was shocked to see a giant bus that was there. Everyone there would have gone to their respective seats, but Izuku sat next to She-Hulk. As the moment he fell asleep, he put his head on her shoulder, nodding off. As everyone who was there thought it was adorable that they were both sleeping like that. So what did they mean to do? Take a pic. As the moment the couple woke up, Mina showed the photo to her as She-Hulk whispered under her breath, just enough for Mina to say, "Send me that image, please," she said. As the rest of the day went on as normal, every single bit of training, meeting Pixie Bob, and everything like that, Kota would have gone a little bit different, but the villain attack would have gone similar, but instead of going for, well, Bakugo, she would have gone with the main project, the main strength of the actual class, She-Hulk. But her quirk being untakeable, All For One would try and recruit her, not take her quirk. As the moment she actually would have finished off the villains, the quirk portal managed to try and get her, but that would have gone to non-existence because the portal didn't even touch her or even get the chance. So the villain's actual attack was a bust, as One For All would have faded from All Might a couple of days after that, because All For One managed to actually make a little glitch in his plan and actually managed to be found by the heroes same time and place like canon. So the lost embers of One For All would have just stayed the same. So let's just stick with that for a while, as All Might would be grieving about the loss of One For All and not being able to do more, but he knows it was his time to retire. As Izuku and everyone else would have had the same experience as like canon, and that includes the rest of the internships, which we will get into when you get this video to 600 likes. Thank you all for watching. If you guys want more, remember 600 likes, I'll make a part 2 of the movie. Have a good day everybody, make sure to like, subscribe, and see ya.